Hello, everyone. This is Rose from the Book of Life. Today's topic is: should a woman jump in to fight her man's battle against another man? Is this called having his back? Let's talk about it. Okay. Now, one thing I can say about a woman, we are protectors. We are very much so protectors. We protect who we love, especially our kids. We get a strength out of nowhere. God only knows where that strength comes from when we are protecting our kids. So that's us. That we just have that in us to be a protector. But the thing is, usually the word protector is something that is a stigma given to men, and that is supposed to be part of their characteristic makeup, them being a protector. But not everyone sees it like that. I think it really depends on your mindset, your upbringing, and in your community that you lived in as you was a child coming up. Because where I come from, the community that I grew up in, and the household that I grew up in, everyone was a protector. Not just a man, not just a male person. Everyone was a protector. And that was called having your back by any means necessary. You're going to make sure that everybody is good and everybody is safe. You look out for each other. And that happens a lot in many communities where, you know, people look out for each other. And women didn't have no problem standing up and speaking up and stepping in. But, things began to change from back in the day when I was a kid and we grew up where anyone can be the protector. So in my youthful days, I grew up in an environment where you pretty much had the lead person as I got to that teen years later in life, when you're at the end of the high school years. Then you begin to now look, and things begin to change a little bit. You begin to look at particular people in the form of being that protector, that protection. It was no longer, I guess you grow up, you get a little wiser, you get a little bit more mature, and you see where now the woman needs to have a protector. And so she now ready to let go of that role, so to speak. You're still going to be that person that's going to be there to protect your kids, but we tend to fight less for ourselves when we grow into the adolescent stage, where we become, in that stage of where you can become motherhood. You begin to not see yourself being that role. We tend to give it to the masculine sector. We give it to the men. We want them to become that protector and so forth. We want to give them that title. But like I said, back in the day, that title went to anyone. It didn't matter age or gender. When I was younger, anyone can be a protector. You're going to protect your family, your mom, anyone. A child will pick up a bat or a stick or whatever they had. If somebody in their family was fighting, they was stepping in. They don't let nobody come at their mama. They come and they stepping in. So things begin to change. But now I want to just kind of focus on that woman, because now as things change, the gender roles change. As you get older and you get in this new generation, You begin to see things differently. As a young adult, I realized as I venture outside of where I grew up as a young adult, and I get a job in corporate America and so forth, I begin to see things different. You begin to more so define the role of the gender, the male and the female, and what their role was, and the things that the women should not be doing, which is things that, I grew up in, that it was okay to do it. It was nothing for a woman to step in and help out a male person. That was not badly looked upon. She got my back, ride or die. But then, as I say, as I venture out into a different type of community and around different environments, things begin to be differently. They don't. You see where a woman being kind of like how I grew up. We got a title put on us, angry black woman, type thing, but where we came from, we wasn't angry. We was just, hey, that's just how it was. So now you begin to see things differently. So you say, okay, let me go according to how a woman is supposed to conduct herself and carry herself, and not be the protector of when it comes to the man, but when it comes to the kids. So I just kind of like took on that role when you see things differently in a different environment, and at a different stage of life. And the thing is, the men, what I learned as an adult is that when men, there was a standard that they had to abide by, basically, to be defined as manhood. It was a manhood thing that determined if they was a man. They had to do what they call the 3 P's, and I'm talking about the letter P, that characterize a man in his manhood as a man. And those 3 P's, the first time I heard them, I heard it in the religious sector. I heard it in church. That's what they was teaching the man, that when you step into manhood, you're going to carry these type of characteristics, traits. You're going to have this. And as a man, this is what you're supposed to do. And those 3 P's were, the first one was provision. And that means that man was a provider. He has to have provision. He has to be a provider. He has to provide and to supply the need of his family before it was needed. So that provision means you have to know what your family need, and you have to supply what your family need before they need it. You don't wait till they need it and then you go out and try to make ends meet. You supply that need for your family before they need it. So that's where that provision came in at. And the second P was called procreation. Procreation. Now this one goes without saying, because I don't think any man had a problem with procreation. Now they may not wanted to procreate, but they did enjoy doing the act of procreating, because they was forever trying to hide that eggplant in somebody's bush. So therefore that was no problem. That goes without saying. Procreation, I don't even think we had to look at that one to see if they was operating in manhood. And the third P is protection. The man was the protector of the household. He was the one that made sure his family was safe. Made sure that, if the wife or the kids coming in late, he would step out and make sure let me know when you pull up into the driveway so I can turn the light on, I'm stepping out, bring you in, or I'm taking you where you got to go at night or whatever, because he was the protector. Because most people, if they see a man with somebody, they not going to be quick to mess with the female. When they see a man with her, they're not going to be quick to pop off or try to attack or whatever when there was a man around. So that man was known as the protector. But and the thing is that's good. I mean, I eventually grew into seeing it that way, and but at the same time, where I come from, they still have their way of seeing things. They still have their way of doing things. Not everybody adapt to that fact that the man is the only protector, and so forth. And I think it changed according to, I think women, even the ones that see the man as a protector and feel like the manhood has to follow those three P's, I still say that a lot of that depends on what's taking place. They allow that man to be that person, but at the same time, I think based on maybe where they grew up or based on having a spontaneous reaction to a situation, you jump into a mode or jump into a role that you didn't think that you would jump into if something pop off and your man is back is up against the wall. What do? Are you going to stand there and say, well, he's the protector, I'm just going to stand here and watch him be his back up against the wall and got a couple of fellas on him, or a guy on him, or you can't do anything. You can't whoop the guy's butt, but sometimes you can do something as a female. And I witnessed this recently. I had gotten away from that type of living, but something happened recently that actually had me going back into time. And that's what life is all about. Life is, hey, it's hills and valley and mountains, valley and hills sometime in life. The ups and downs, like a roller coaster ride. 1 minute, everything is smooth and everything is going into, okay, this is how we supposed to live. And then something pop off, something happen, and you like, hey, forget that. I got to go back in time for a minute. I'll be back to the future, but hey, I got to go back to what I know. And I experienced one of those situations because I got family that still lives in the hood, that still pretty much got that mentality that I grew up in. And it's not to say that I don't still have it in me, but I choose to change my way of thinking and my way of doing. So I still have family, and I'm still going to socialize with my family when I can. But anyway, the family came together, decided to have a party. One of the nieces is graduating from high school, getting ready to go to college, and we do what we do. Bring the neighborhood together, bring the family together, friends, and people you're close to, and you throw a party. And where I come from, we didn't go out and rent no venue. When you throw a party, you throw it in your house. It's always a house party, but more so, I would say a garage party because you're not messing up your house. That's how it is where I come from. You don't mess up your house. The garage is used for parties and get-togethers. You don't park your car in the garage. You park your car in the driveway. That garage is fixed up like a studio apartment. That's how it is. It got a stereo in it. It got a couch in it. It got chairs in it. Got folding chairs. It got a table in there so you could play spade. You could play dominoes. It got what you call that, the surround sounds, a TV. That's what's in the garage. In the hood. That's how we keep our garages. So I decided, okay, let me go over here and support the family and go to this graduation party, going off to a HBC college, and I just to show my support. And the garage is fixed up beautifully. Got the silver and purple balloons, and the stringers hanging everywhere, and the little the white Christmas lights hanging, and it's just fixed up nice. You can have the garages can be some really nice venues for having a party, and you could save a whole lot of money and have just as much fun. I mean, a lot of fun. Because now you ain't got to try to be fake and phony and acting like, hey, you got to keep it together. You can't joke. You can't laugh. You got to act sedity and sophisticated and all of this stuff. You could have some fun at some house parties in the garage. But anyway, I'm there, and it had been a long time since I had been to a house party in the garage. But I was enjoying it. Everybody was getting along. Everybody was having a good time. But all of a sudden, some mess gotta happen. Some mess gotta jump off. Here come this guy who was not invited. He was not invited. But he got beef with somebody that was invited. Okay, now, for those of you who don't know what beef is, I'm not talking about food. I meant to say he has a problem. He has some animosity against somebody that was invited. So something between them was not right. And he heard that this guy gonna be at the party. He figured this is a way that he can catch him and let him know that he's ready to throw down or whatever it was that was going on. But anyway, he comes up to the party, and he gets up and he's talking smack as he walking up the driveway to the back, to where the garage is at. This guy talking smack, and he calling out this guy's name, calling him out. I'm like, oh my God. I say, why the one time I decided to come back to the hood? Gotta experience this thing. Why couldn't we just continue to have a wonderful time? Everybody dancing, doing line dances, and the young people dropping it like it's hot and everything. We just having a ball. We having fun. This guy come. So I'm like, okay, what's about to hop off? What? I ain't used to this. I don't even know what to do anymore. Back in the day, you didn't run from nothing. You just sat there. Hey, I don't understand it now, because I'm looking around like I'm not that brave no more. Okay, I want to get out of here. So I'm sitting there, and I'm hearing him mouthing off, and then suddenly I see the guy that was invited, his girl. She began to back up. She began to back up a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, she's nervous, she's scared, she's ready to run. So I'm seeing her backing up, and I'm like, oh dang, she's been invested in the hood a little bit longer than me. So if she backing up, then I gotta back up. So I'm still sitting there because everybody else is still in place looking. And so they having words, they threatening each other, they study having words about what was going on and what was happening. And so I said, well, let me go inside the house. I went through this, the back door inside the house to the kitchen, because I said, well, I'm still gonna be nosy. So I'm looking out the kitchen window at them, arguing and stuff. But I'm aware, well, if anything pop off, I can duck down out of the window, because I'm still gonna be nosy and see what's going on. So they just started talking, and I seen, okay, the girl backs up, the girlfriend backs up, and I say, okay, she's out of sight, I'm out of sight. So the next thing you know, the guy that wasn't invited, he goes in his jacket. Now that's one thing I did notice when he first came up. I'm like, why do he have a jacket on and it's hot outside? See, that's stuff that the hood teach you. You grow up in a community where you always watching, you always looking, you looking at people, you reading people before they approach you. You looking at what they got on, you looking at how they walking, you looking at the way they moving, their body, their eye contact, you looking at everything. That's one thing I learned from growing up in the hood. I'm always on that high alert watching people and how they move. And so that's the thing I saw about him. He had a jacket on. That stood out. That was another reason why I was ready to go inside and peep out the window, because I spotted that jacket. So he goes in his jacket. He pulls out like a hunting knife. It was a huge hunting knife. It was huge. He was talking about how he was going to gut this man and what he was going to do to him. Oh, baby, let me tell you. When he pulled that knife off, let me tell you what girlfriend was doing. The girlfriend of the guy that was invited. She went to get a gun. I didn't know she had a gun. I didn't even know she was still back there, but she was standing off to the side with her gun, trying to see how this thing was going to play out. When he studied, so the two dudes, they going at it, cursing each other out, this and that. And then when the guy with the knife started to walk up on the other guy, I was surprised the other guy stood his grounds. He wasn't backing down. He didn't move back. But when he started walking up, all of a sudden I heard, thing I know, I see blood dripping from his hand. He dropped the knife. I said, well, I be doggone. She shot that dude in the hand. I'm like, how did she do that? I said, now this tell you this girl been going to target practice. She's been going to the gun ring, the range or whatever you call it, and been practicing. She is definitely someone that know how to hit that bullseye when she's practicing. Because she hit him in his hand. His hand is dripping blood. I guess she say, I ain't nobody's fool. I ain't going to jail for nobody, but I'm going to protect my man. You not coming at him with no knife. Now, she probably would have shot him somewhere else if he had a gun. But she hit him in the hand, and he backed up. But she told him, back the F up. You better back the F up. And he backed up. But by that time, when I heard pop, by the time I heard the first pop, my finger was on speed dial with 911. So they probably was wondering who called the police. Oh, me who been out the hood for so long. All I know to do is call 911. I was on speed. I called 911. I'm like, you gotta get here because somebody about to get hurt. There's a knife and there's a gun. I say, I think there's a gun because I heard some shooting, but there's a knife for sure. And next thing you know, the police, and the thing is, my brother, he lived near the police station. He's only like about a mile away from the police station. So it didn't take them long to get there. But anyway, the police came and she had that gun on him. And she was like, if you take another step, I said, this is one bad chick right here. But she did what she knew to do. So it's not that I'm glorifying it. I'm not praising this. But this could have went all the way wrong. It could have went wrong. I'm just so happy that all this man came with was a knife. I mean, I am grateful to God. That's all he came with a knife to a graduation party. That's unheard of because most people come with guns. And I'm so grateful that it didn't go worse than what it was. And I'm grateful that she's been going to target practice and she didn't hurt this man, that she shot him in the hand. So now you can look back on it and you can kind of like say like, wow, because it didn't go left. It didn't go real bad. And so, but the police got there and they saw her. She was still holding that gun on that man. And they told her, drop the gun, drop the gun. And I'm like, people's like, she dropped the gun. Everybody stayed quiet. Because, when the police, they can't explain to the police what's going on. They can't have too much voice going out saying, no, it's not her. They can't do that. They got to stay quiet. They have to do what the police say. Because in the hood, they get trigger happy. So therefore, you got to do what they say. And I look at how everybody was in alignment. They knew what to do. They stayed quiet. She lowered the gun down. She eased the gun down. She didn't throw it down. She bent down slowly and she put that gun on the ground and she kicked it over to where the police was at. They know what to do in the hood. I'm gonna tell you. She kicked her foot and slid it over. So then the police came up on her and they handcuffed her. And then the people began to speak and they said that she was defending her boyfriend because this man came up with this knife that you see on the ground and she shot him in the hand because he was trying to stab her boyfriend. So they handcuffed him. Yeah, but they handcuffed him to the front. his hands to the front because his hand was bleeding. So they handcuffed him and they handcuffed her in the back. So the next thing you know, by that time, the police was taking statements from people. And they, was taking her to the police car. And then the boyfriend asked, can he go with her? And the police said no. And then so he hollered and told his girl, he said, I'm coming to bail you out. Don't worry, I got you. I'm coming to bail you out. And so when the police left, they asked the man, they handcuffed him because he had a knife. They took that knife and they bagged it. They bagged the knife and they asked him, they told him that, they would call an ambulance for him and so forth. And he was like, well, it was like a flesh wound. That the bullet didn't go in his hand. It went, it's like it went, it hit him and it skinned him to where he was bleeding, but the bullet didn't go through his hand. So the way she did it, whew, he's a lucky man. He probably gonna need some stitches and have his hand bandaged for a while, but it was nothing that serious. So they took him in the car as well, in a separate car, and they told him they would get some help for him for his hand, and they took him in the car and they took her in the car, and so that was the end of that. I mean, I was so shocked at what happened. I was like, just that quick. This can just jump off. But I was so amazed at what she did because it had me think, hey, sometimes, yeah, you're going to have to be the protector as a woman. You got to know how to protect the people you love. And that's sad to say. This is the world we living in. And we got to know how to not only protect ourselves, but protect the people we love. See, we women, it's like I get this thing inside of me when you mess with one of my kids. Oh, when you mess with one of my kids, I'm sorry, I forget who I am. I forget who I am because I'm coming for you when you mess with one of my kids. You don't touch my kids. And that's the thing. And so, but now I'm rethinking what I had done that. Maybe I would have, or maybe because I ain't got nobody in my life for me to know if I would have done that. I never been put in that situation, but I would like to believe that I would because you protect who you love. When you love somebody and you know that somebody is coming up on them and they can possibly take their life, and you got a way to back them up, then you're going to back them up. I believe just in being spontaneous, that spontaneous reaction as to, no, you're not hurting who I love. No, I'm fighting for who I love. And so I think that it's possible that women can take on that position and that role as being the protector when it comes to their man. So, it would be interesting to hear your comments on that and know how do you see that. Because I'm telling you, I thought that way when I was younger, but then my mindset changed when I got into a new environment. And I just thought, no, women don't protect men. A woman do not get in a man mess. If men are going at it, you stay your tail out of it. That's how I changed to think. And I still believe that to a degree. Because I looked at everybody that was there, they didn't get in, including the men. They didn't get in the middle of that mess. They stood their ground. They just stayed there and they stayed quiet. When they let those two men have it, go at it with the words, they stood there. They didn't move. As long as they was going at it with the words, and nobody was moving. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said, oh man, y'all need to carry this stuff somewhere else. Y'all need to stop this. This gonna lead to something. Nobody said nothing. They figure if they got some problems, let them hash it out with their words. They hashing it out with their words. Everything is good. Let them hash it out with their words. We don't see nothing else serious popping off, so let them get this out of their system. And that's what they did. They allowed them to, until homeboy came out with the knife. But sister girl had something waiting for him. Maybe everybody saw what I couldn't see because I was in that kitchen window. But they probably knew she had something. That's probably why they stayed quiet and didn't say nothing. Just said, let them hash it out. Because, and nobody else went and got their piece. Because they probably knew that came back out of that car with something. And that's probably why they stayed like that. But it's like, that blew my mind. It made me see things differently because it's been a long time since I've been in that environment. And I was like, oh my God, would I have done the same thing? Would I have done the same thing? And I think, yeah, I probably would have. I probably would. What I know, because I think sometimes when you grow up in a certain environment, you get with what I call that hood DNA. That hood DNA don't go nowhere. You may not execute it and utilize it for years because you change your life around, but it's still there because I still watch people and look at people. I'm still looking at my environments. I do not go in the bank without checking out the parking lot and see who's around and who's sitting in their car and what's going on. I don't go in the bank like that. And when I come out of the bank, you can rest for sure the money is tucked away if I got money. And I'm looking around and seeing what car is different. Who's there? Who's sitting in their car? I'm checking things because this is what the hood taught me to do. So I think back and I say, yeah, I still got that hood DNA. So I probably would have did the same thing she did. But anyway, this is just one of those things that I was curious about. What do you all think about that? Do you see yourself being one of those women who will become a protector in that type of situation and have your man back in that way? I know you'll do it for your kids because all women, we have that in us when it comes for our kids. But would you do that for a man? Jump in the comments. Let me hear from you. That's just amazing to me. I mean, I'm still in shock of what happened. But anyway, until next week, be blessed, people. Be safe. Watch your surroundings. Okay? Peace. I'm out.